Today we're going to be talking about employer thank you notes or sending thank you notes to a prospective employer following an interview. We're going to talk about the why behind that, what those should look like, what they should include, and really how they can elevate you as a prospective employer interviewing for a particular role. I'd like to point out that this follows our previous workshops that have been done, that were done and completed last year, and you can find those on the CCPD website, particularly the preparing for an interview, which I think is a nice lead in to this thank you note workshop. So let's talk about the why. Why write a thank you note after a job interview? Well, you've had a great interview. Hopefully you've discussed a lot of really good things. Just to kind of back up a little bit, I'd like for you to consider after the interview, immediately following it, sit in your car, go to a quiet place. Maybe if you're on public transportation, write notes while they're fresh in your mind about the interview. Start to take notes about everything that was discussed. Really try to write down as much as you possibly can remember that was discussed in the interview. And then this will later on help you as you write and compose your thank you letter, because the more detail or reference to the conversation, the better it will look. It will appear more personal. It will feel less generic and show that you really are tied in and paid attention to the conversation. So that's really something that's very important to do as you prepare to follow up after an interview, which is essentially what writing a thank you note is. So it is an additional display of professionalism. Some people say, well, is it really worth it? It is. It really does make a difference. If I'm interviewing, a few people and they're all equal somewhat in their what they're offering, and then I receive a thank you note from one, that might be, the point at which I can make my decision and say, okay, this person obviously, has taken it a step up in terms of professionalism. So it's definitely encouraged. It's a polite way of showing professionalism to prospective employers. It also shows that you have really great people skills, that you're invested in the potential position, and that it also shows how you communicate in the written word. So they want to see that as well. It also gives you an opportunity to add another layer of information about who you are and how your skills align with the position. Perhaps this was discussed in the interview, but why not take another opportunity to let the employer know of that? It reminds the prospective employers about you and your abilities. Make sure, as always, just like your resume is aligned with the job description, your cover letter is aligned with the job description, that your thank you note is written with that job description in mind. It takes a very small amount of time to write a thank you note, but it does make a big impression. So, what is in a thank you note? As with anything, a resume, a cover letter, you'll get a lot of different opinions. So ultimately, this is your work. This is something that you're presenting, so you need to be comfortable with it. But don't be afraid to reach out to folks. Certainly come to CCPD, email us, visit us. We're more than happy to help you to compose a thank you note or review what you've written and edit it for you before you sent it out. So generally, there are 3 parts to a thank you note that you'll send to a potential employer. So you're first thanking the interviewer for meeting. And that's an important, obviously, way to start. Then you want to offer a brief summary of why you are the right person for the position. Again, just reiterating that connection to the job, how you are connected to it. Maybe mention those keywords or those skills that you may have pulled from the job description. You want the employer to envision you in the role. Finally, a closing statement which should include your contact information. So your email, your phone number, that kind of a thing. So a little effort goes a long way. So here's some details. Upon exiting the interview, if the prospective employer does not offer you a business card, you can certainly ask for one. It's important because you want to be sure that you have all of the contact information of the person you are meeting with. If you're meeting with more than one person, you should try to get their contact information as well. So business cards really come in handy in that regard. And you do want to send a thank you note to every single person you met. They should be unique, and they should be individually sent to each individual person that you've met. At the end of the interview, it is certainly perfectly appropriate to ask for next steps and a timeline. And you do want to mention that in the thank you note, something to the effect of, I understand that I'll be hearing from you based upon our interview conversation. I understand I'll be hearing from you by such and such a date. I look forward to that. And then let the interviewer know that you will follow up as well. And you can certainly say that in the thank you, and then let them know the time frame that you plan to follow up, and then do so. Follow through on that. One of the most important things is you want to be prompt with sending a thank you note. So you want to be sure you're sending it within 24 hours of your interview. Who knows how many folks, the employer is interviewing with. And so you want to do it while you're fresh in their mind. Sending a thank you note, it may elevate you from the competition. The note should be brief. We'll share with you an example of what a thank you note looks like, but it's really a reminder of who you are. Employers see many candidates, so don't forget to use the second paragraph, which I'll point out in a moment, to remind the employer about your skills and why you should be the successful candidate. And always date your thank you note. Add the correct contact and company information. When you send an electronic note, for example, if you're sending it via email, don't forget to use script font to sign it along with your email signature. And this is a good time if you don't have one to create an email signature. That could include a LinkedIn profile, a phone number, etc. There are a lot of different examples that you can use of email signatures. And again, come into CCPD. We're more than happy to help you with any of these things. Finally, if you decide to send the old-fashioned hard copy, meaning a letter in the mail, be sure to use blue or black ink, and also don't forget to print it on resume quality paper. This can be purchased at a local Staples or an office supply store. And it's just a really good quality, heavier paper than just printer paper. And that should match your resume paper if you're sending that along in good old-fashioned snail mail as well. Sometimes students will ask me, well, should I send both? I always say yes. And the reason for this is because if you send an email within 24 hours, and then you follow that up with a actual hard copy letter that goes in the mail, isn't that a wonderful way for you to really stay in the mind of that employer? So now he's received an email from you. A couple of days later, they've received, an actual letter, really showing your interest and that you have really gone that extra mile to show that you're committed to working for that company. So something to think about. So here's an example of a thank you letter. You have your heading on top. The heading should ideally match your resume, just as your cover letter should match your resume heading. You have the date, and you have the person that you're sending it to, along with their title and company and address, and then you are addressing them. And you're starting off letting them know why you're writing to them and that you're thanking them for the time that they spent and expressing your excitement about the potential role. This is where you get to shine and really reiterate to the prospective employer why they should hire you. You're really selling yourself here based upon, again, that job description, being really familiar with the company, what they're looking for, and then really incorporating some of what you talked about in the interview. And that's where those notes come in handy. So, make it a point to make it personal and bring in those conversations that you had during the interview. It shows you were paying attention, that you took the time to remember these things, and it just shows your really great communication skills. And then finally, you're thanking them again for the interview. You're expressing your desire to hear from them. You're providing more contact information so that they can reach out to you easily. And you're saying sincerely with your name. So these are some really great tips that I hope that you will take with you as you go on those interviews, which I certainly hope that you do, and then to follow up with the thank you note. And I can't reiterate enough how much, we're happy to help you in CCPD, and we're available so you can come in and visit us if you're on campus, North 103, or you can email us, and we are more than happy to schedule an appointment. So I'm going to open it up now. I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to open it up for questions, comments, anything that you'd like to express. And in case you want to review this, it is recorded and it will go on our CCPD website as part of all of our recordings. So I do encourage you to review our website and look for all of the different webinars that we have, including resume writing, part 1 and 2, how to write a cover letter, how to find references, our thank you notes, how to create your LinkedIn profile, and so much more. So if there are no other questions, I'd like to remind you that we are participating in the Waterbury Chamber of Commerce Job Fair tomorrow, February 1st from 3 to 6 in Waterbury, Connecticut at the Courtyard by Marriott. For those of you who are local, the campus shuttle is running and from Post to Post downtown, and the Courtyard by Marriott location is just across the street, and there'll be lots of companies there. It's a really great opportunity for networking, and if you talk to people, you can certainly, send thank you notes as a follow-up, even if it's not a traditional interview. Might be a nice way of utilizing what you've learned here in this webinar to follow up with employers from the job fair, just to kind of keep you fresh in their minds. So I wanted to invite you to that. And then also please do stay tuned and stay abreast of what's on the Nest, and also your emails for all of the different happenings in CCPD, including our employer spotlights. If there are no other questions, I'm going to end. So I'll stop recording, and I just wanted to say thank you again to everybody for attending.